This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
Introduction. Wall Street Film is a well-crafted story giving insights into the kind of morality found in Wall Street. Oliver Stone sheds light on the greed and corruption that dominated Wall Street. Coincidentally, this masterpiece hit the markets exactly 60 days after the famous stock market crash of 1987. The movie revolves around Bud, a young and ambitious stockbroker who is out to make it big in life. The other character of interest here is Gecko, a corporate raider who knows when to make a move and when to stay put. Gecko happens to be Bud's hero, probably due to his successful history in the stock market. This paper focuses on the moral side of the story, not the financial dealings that surround Wall Street. It focuses on the scene where Bud meets Gecko for business dealings until Bud re-evaluates his decision to continue with the dealings that Gecko gets him in. Scene analysis. We meet Bud as the movie opens trying to squeeze his way past a crowded workplace in Jackson and Steinham Securities firm. Immediately we realize that of late, he has been tirelessly trying to meet Gecko, a smart broker who knows what happens where in the stock markets. It is important to note that Gecko will pursue his selfish ambitions regardless of what happens to other people, even if they are his friends. Bud calls Gecko's office relentlessly for 39 days until he finally secures an appointment. To set things in motion, Bud looks for a gorgeous birthday gift, which he delivers personally to Gecko. Unfortunately, Bud makes the first mistake. He gives some inside information about Blue Star Airlines Company, run by Carl, his father. This information makes Gecko have some interest in Bud, and given the hero that Bud sees in Gecko, a long-term strong alliance between the two is inevitable. As anticipated, Gecko takes Bud in and offers him a big opportunity to make good money. However, Bud has to play the game according to the rules. Nevertheless, due to his hunger to make it big in life, Bud does not think much of what he has to lose to gain the good life he badly craves. The alliance takes off immediately and Bud spends a lot of time with Gecko, a feat that earns Bud large perks. Bud is now entitled to expensive meals, fat checks, and even a beautiful lass by the name of Darian. Bud has so carried away in this flush life that he forgets the hustles and bustles of this life. Within no time, Bud becomes a partaker of corporate avarice and corruption. Bud engages in slash-and-burn exploits courtesy of Gecko. This approach to business is more adventurous, thrilling, and rewarding than the more principled prosaic business dealings championed by Lou Mannheim, a veteran trader. Life to Bud is at least now bearable, for he can afford an upmarket apartment and take Darian to expensive outings. Nevertheless, there is a price to pay for everything in this life, and good things in life are not free. Someone has to either work very hard or deal very hard. Bud chose the latter, and soon he is to pay the price. Bud had introduced Gecko to Blue Star Airlines, owned by his father Carl. However, due to his greed, Gecko suggests to Bud that they should sell Blue Star Airline assets, an incident that will leave them immensely rich. Unfortunately, this move will leave Carl, Bud's father, and all workers in this company, who happens to be Bud's friends, jobless. This is a decisive moment for Bud, who has to choose between his father's well-being and his fortunes. Luckily, Bud chooses to protect his father and friends working at Blue Star Airlines. He sets out to scuttle Gecko's plans to salvage his father's business. After approaching Darian, she refuses to betray Gecko, leading Bud to dispose of her, marking the end of their relationship. These events act as a revelation to Bud, who painfully realizes that the price required to sustain his flush lifestyle is too expensive for him to pay. After breaking ties with Gecko and Darian, Bud strategies on how to save this company, and he succeeds even though he ends up in prison. Concerning God's call to worship him alone, Bud made a mistake. He went against this sanctimonious call and worshipped idols, that is, money. The fact that he knew what he was doing was wrong and did not stop it before it began, is a clear indication that he was not willing to own up to this call from God. However, Bud has some morals left in him as he chooses to spare his father and friends. However, this portrays partiality because all along, he has been hurting other people, but it did not matter as long as it was not his father or friends. God calls us to act without partiality, letting his love dwell in our hearts, something that Bud went against. All this is because of money, the root of all evils. Conclusion. Wall Street reflects the relationship between evil, coming from greed for money, and upholding moral principles. People have the free will to choose between good and evil. Bud represents this. As the movie starts, he uses his free will to choose evil and engage in dirty business dealings. As the movie proceeds, he still uses free will to choose good over evil as he breaks ranks with Gecko and Darien. Bud does not honor God's call to get rid of idols and worship him alone. If you want to find more works like this essay on Wall Street, 1987 ethics analysis, head over to ivypanda.com. It has a collection of samples with thousands of submissions covering virtually all academic subjects.